You wake up in the middle of the night. You think you've heard something down in the living room. You reach over to the side of the bed, grab the big metal flashlight, and walk as silently as possible down the hall, down the stairs, slide across the tile flooring, up against a wall that leads into the living room. You whip your head around once, really quick. Take a look. Twice. Oh, thank God there's nobody in there. You walk into the living room, flip on the light, sashay across to the front window, crack the blinds open, and there he is, Mr. Creepy. He's standing on your lawn. He's wearing a clown mask. He's got an axe, and he's staring at your front door. So what are we talking about here? The most cliche horror movie plot ever, or a potential real-life situation brought to you by none other than the United States Copyright Office? The answer might surprise you. It's both. I'm Rick Chapo. I'm at DMCAagentservice.com. We provide agents to websites and apps that are trying to comply with the DMCA and don't want to list their own information. So how do we possibly get to a scenario where the Copyright Office is being mixed with axe-wielding, clown mask-wearing individuals? Well, let me show you how. The first step is we need to travel back in time. So I'm getting my time machine here, and we're going back to the lovely year of 1998. This is a year when Congress was kumbayaing happily and passing laws right and left. One was the DMCA, better known as the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. And in October of 1998, President Clinton signed it into law. Now, at that point, the Copyright Office was charged with issuing regulations detailing how the law would actually work on a day-to-day basis, given technology and things of that sort. And so the Copyright Office did, and they issued these regulations. Now, the odd thing about all the regulations was there are certain aspects of the DMCA that require filings with the Copyright Office. And you would think that because the DMCA deals with online and digital topics exclusively, that the Copyright Office would create an online platform where filings could occur. The office did not. I have no idea why. And so you had a scenario where the regulations all applied to paper filings and things of this sort. Now, to its credit, the Copyright Office eventually, realized that this internet thingy wasn't going away. And so they decided to come up with a system, or at least a system to address the most common aspect of the DMCA, which was the registering of agents. So in 2016, yes, a mere, and I want to emphasize the word mere, 18 years after the DMCA was enacted, the Copyright Office came up with a DMCA agent registration system that works online. And so the new registration system was good. It was good. The price for registering went down from $140 to $6. The old paper registration system would take a month or more. The new online system takes an hour. No, not even an hour. Let's say 15 minutes. Very fast, very quick. What could possibly be bad? Well, we were all rejoicing, those of us that deal with the DMCA. All was good. And then we started noticing clouds, storm clouds forming on the horizon. And the storm were the regulations. Because the new system was digital, Copyright Office had to issue new regulations, because if you remember, the old regulations almost dealt entirely with paper filings and things of that sort that no longer existed. And so the new regulations came out, and they were bad. And the specific part of the regulations that we're going to address here deals with the service provider address. So what's a service provider? It's just the company that's trying to gain the safe harbor provisions, the safe harbor immunity of the DMCA. So probably you, if you're listening to this, but it could be a website or an internet connected app, any kind of platform where basically, you're trying to gain that safe harbor so that if your users upload something that constitutes copyright infringement, you cannot be sued for it. And as part of that compliance process, you have to register an agent. And with the new online system, the registration also requires the business address, your business address. So it requires your business name, then your street address, and then your phone number and your email address. Now, your phone number and your email address are not included in the viewable aspect of the database, meaning that people can't, they can't see it. So you're not going to get a ton of calls or spam email. But your address is. And so the question was, well, can we use a post office box? And the Copyright Office, to the surprise of nearly everyone, said no. They want the address where the business is actually run from. And there was much gnashing of teeth, because can you see how that might result in some bad situations? Now, if you're Microsoft, you don't care, because you just list your office address up in Redmond and you have this huge compound and no biggie. But if you work from home, well, let's say you have a website that's dealing with a controversial subject, or a forum where politics or something are discussed and people get heated. You might have some haters show up at your door. There are just some creepy, nasty, weird people online. Dating sites, they do as much as possible to hide this, but they have problems with members. There are stories out there. Go do a search for Match.com lawsuits. It's not just Match.com, but, a lovely man and a lovely young lady meet for a date. The lovely man knifes the young lady 51 times. These kinds of scenarios. So having people, having your home address isn't great from a safety perspective. And it's not even just the evil, nasty people. Maybe you're the most beloved person ever on the web. Flowers sprout wherever you walk. I mean, you are the godlike person. Well, people who are really well admired online tend to have problems with quote unquote fans. And I'm sure you've seen stories of celebrities who they're not at home. Maybe they're out shooting a film or something, and they come back and, a fan has broken into their property, has been living there for a while and doing God knows what. If you're working from home, you probably don't want fans showing up either. What if you have kids? What if you live alone? You really just don't want to deal with these scenarios. You can just see how there could be some really bad results. And so it's a controversial area. Now, the thing that makes this even weirder is, remember, the only reason that you're providing your business address to the Copyright Office is as part of the registration for the DMCA agent. Now, the agent, like our service, we're there to receive complaints. I mean, this is our whole purpose, is to actually receive the complaints. Now, the weird thing is the regulations say that we can use a post office address. And so if somebody wants to, hire us, when we provide our information, a P.O. box is listed. And so if a fan or a hater or a creepy guy with an axe shows up, they're going to arrive at a post office and not our house or not our office. And so the question is, well, why can agents list their P.O. box, but service providers cannot? And I don't have a good answer for you. And the Copyright Office has not provided one either. It's very bizarre. I think mostly it has to do with being able to identify the service provider, if the copyright owner wants to file a lawsuit. But by the very nature of complying with the DMCA, the service provider can't be sued. That's the whole purpose of the DMCA, at least Section 512. So very odd, very, very odd, and very weird. And so once the regulations went into effect, as you can imagine, there started to be a bit of blowback. A lot of people were very unhappy. The Copyright Office started getting hit with all these criticisms and what have you. And being the Copyright Office, they apparently realized they had a potential problem. So instead of going back and changing the regulations, because why do something that would be common sense, they decided to issue a petition process. And the short and sweet of it is the petition, which we call the we're all going to die petition, allows you to send in by snail mail a paper letter basically detailing why you should be allowed to use a post office box. And so you can see the requirements here below. Number 3, which is name of the service provider, it's the name of your business, the post office box you want to use. So you got to go out and get a post office box, even though you're not sure they're going to approve it. And then C, the reasons why you should be allowed to use a post office box. And here's a hint, it mostly boils down to safety concerns. So you want to be specific and honest. Don't just make crap up. And then D, my favorite part of the petition, which is an email address. They want you to provide an email address where they can send you their answer. Now think about that. The Copyright Office, we're in 2018, and they want you to send in a paper petition by snail mail. They haven't put up a form online or even an email address where you can submit the petition, so you have to do it by snail mail. And here's where things get a little ugly. 30 Days in a Hole, under number 4 in front of you. 1, great song. Go pull it up on YouTube. And yes, I'm aware of the irony of that there's probably copyright violations going on there. But nonetheless, good groove. 2, post 9/11, when you send something to a government agency in Washington, D.C., it does not go to the government agency. Instead, it goes through a security system, and it's tested for, I don't even know what, uranium, various viruses, chemicals, probably run through a couple psychics first, and it can take 2 to 3 weeks for it to even get to where you're trying to send it. And so this is not a situation where the lawyer in the Copyright Office is sitting there, flicking pencils up into the ceiling above him. It may take 2 or 3 weeks before it gets to him, and then he reviews it and sends you an email answer. So, it's a huge problem for a lot of people, because I'll be quite honest with you, most people who call us, they need a DMCA agent that day or within a couple of days, because they want to launch. So if you have, here's a common scenario, we get a call on Friday, I need a DMCA agent, can you guys help me out? Yeah, sure. We can turn it around fast, not a problem at all. And then they become aware of the home address issue, and they say, oh, I want to file a petition. I think a petition's the way I want to go, but I want to get my app up in iTunes on Monday. Well, unless you have a time machine and can travel backwards 30 days to send off your petition, there's going to be a problem. Caveat, if you have a time machine, contact me. I'd like to go back 30 years. There's some stocks I want to invest in. But again, probably a subject for another video. Nonetheless, you have this 30-day problem, and it's completely artificial. The Copyright Office, the reason that they cannot accept petitions online, there is no reason. There is literally no reason. They're either just lazy or incompetent. I don't know what's going on over there. But, as you've probably noticed from this entire video, that's kind of a theme. They have some strange rules and regulations and practical functions. And unfortunately, we're stuck with them. There's just no way to change them unless you want to run for president and put your own people up, in the director positions at the post office or at the Copyright Office. And so you have to deal with this. So if you're thinking about launching a website or an app or something of that sort, and the idea of listing your home address is a non-starter, you want to make sure you get that petition off as soon as possible. Your website or app do not need to be up. You can file a petition before they are actually launched. And so make sure that you take those steps. So that is it for today's video, the DMCA and the post office box conundrum, the bad horror movie plot. Thank you for watching. If you are interested in DMCA topics or have questions, hopefully you'll subscribe to this channel. We're going to be cutting a ton of DMCA videos. So if you have a question, hopefully we'll have already answered it or will soon. So thank you for watching. Have yourself a good one.